All right, if President Trump was looking for cover from his counterparts in the Republican Party, he didn't find it. Dozens of dependable Trump backers trashing the idea, including Cocaine Mitch and the president's fearless fanboy Lindsey Graham, who wasn't buying what the man in the Oval Office was selling. Linz?
The Kurds will now align with Assad because they have nobody to count on because we abandoned them. So this is a big win for Iran and Assad, a big win for ISIS.
2020 Democrats predictably pounced on the withdrawal, and perhaps the only person supporting the president is Rand Paul, who praised him for fulfilling his promise to stop endless wars. So can the president convince anyone else this was the right move, or should he start tweeting about a new subject to distract us? The party panelists return: Matt Welch, Jimmy Fela, and Tom Bevan. So, Matt, when I was talking about this on Outnumbered today and talking about the Kurds and not clumsily pulling out and leaving allies to die, which is what will happen given how Turkey sees the Kurdish people, a lot of libertarians are like, you're a neocon, you're a hook.
Well, finally, we exposed you
Yes,
once
exactly.
and for all.
Thank you. I'm John Bolton.
Welcome to the club.
Yep.
No, as Justin Amash has pointed out on Twitter today, this isn't a withdrawal. We're moving a couple of dozen troops from this place to that place. The president's saying we want to bring the troops home. I certainly want to bring the troops home a lot faster even than Suitsi does from Afghanistan and elsewhere. I'm maybe a little bit less concerned about pulling them out faster than Lindsey Graham wants on any given day. But 80 countries are in this coalition.
Yes.
You have to plan this out at least a little bit. Trump is famously impulsive in what he does, and he does these half measures. And
it's also he spoke to Erdogan yesterday.
And this almost happened in December 2018, the same thing. He had a phone call with Erdogan, and suddenly he was going to change the policy there. The anti-war libertarian stance should not just be about American troops. It's also about war.
Well, that's what I thought, because we're not talking about the Kurds who have perished, or the 24,000 who've been wounded, or, the hundreds of thousands of civilians who have been displaced and lost their lives.
Well, I mean, that's the part of this.
That's a fun note, Jim.
Who's ready for some comedy, everybody? I'll tell you. It is frustrating because, to Matt's point, it reeks of impulsiveness. And President Trump once famously said on the 2016 trail that Obama was the founder of ISIS because he had pulled out so rapidly, he had created a vacuum where ISIS subsisted. But perhaps the most damning part of this is that the only guy who supports it is Rand Paul, a guy who got beaten by a rake by his neighbor. This is not a guy and possibly, but I mean, he must have did something on some level to upset that guy. And what I'm saying is, he upsets a lot of people. And when he I know he's a libertarian god.
She was wearing a short skirt. She's asking
I wasn't doing that, but I just want to say that. I just want to say this. When Rand Paul praises him for non-interventionist policies, I can get behind that. But this was already ongoing. Yeah. This is not we won't go. This is we're already there. How do we go home? And that's what upsets me.
That's a good question. How do we go home?
Well, I mean, look, Trump is right. He ran on this. He's trying to do, and he's a guy who relies on his gut. And he is impulsive to the point where, this is what cost Jim Mattis, made him resign, was the first deal with Syria. He had a phone call with Erdogan, and he said, spouted off and said, hey, we're going to pull out. In this environment, right, in a complex situation like that, to just unilaterally make this decision, it's reckless. Yeah. And it's a bad move by the president. We've already seen him sort of walk it back and say, hey, listen, as I said earlier, if Erdogan doesn't do what I say, we're going to go back in there and we'll blast him and we'll do all this. And maybe he will. But I suspect we'll see Trump do what he did last time, which is kind of walk this back and try and thread that needle.
In defense of Trump, just a little bit, I find it, of all the things that you can criticize him for, the only thing the Republicans really start standing up is when he wants to withdraw even this many troops. He does a lot of bad things out there in the world, and this is the thing. There's a constant interventionism in the Republican.
We also call him on the vaping ban and a bunch of other stuff.